Hi everybody, I'm Michael. This is a 5-minute review for Nancy Drew number 25, Alibi in Ashes. I feel like they tried extra hard with this game because it's 25, so it's a milestone game, which is cool. So the big deal is that Nancy is in her hometown. This is the first game which actually takes place in Nancy's hometown. Can you believe it? And you get to play as all of her friends, Bess, George, and Ned, which is so cool. I really like it, although when you replay it, you notice that Bess, George, and Ned pretty much say the exact same things all the time. I'm like, oh man, that doesn't really lend itself to replayability when all the characters are so similar. But they do have different things, like the characters, like Tony acts differently around Bess, and Alexi acts differently around George. That sort of thing. Deirdre acts differently around Ned. That's it. So like each of your three characters you play as has their own specific suspect who likes them and is nice to them. The story is that Nancy has been framed for burning down the town hall, and her friends need to solve a bunch of puzzles, collect a bunch of evidence to prove Nancy's innocence. It's really cool. You get to meet all these characters, and the characters are so fantastic. Alexi is just so sarcastic and fantastic and wonderful. I love him. And especially the second half of the game, as soon as Nancy gets let out of prison, he is so nice to her. Just a complete change of personality, because he's got a really tragic backstory, which mirrors what's happening to Nancy pretty much exactly. So I like him. The two characters who are sort of villains are characters from the books. It's amazing because Deirdre Shannon is just a super annoying, terrible character in pretty much all the books that she appears in. But in this game, she is just so fantastic and memorable. She comes back for 2 more games in the Nancy Drew series. That's how great she's done. And she's constantly fighting with Bess. Bess is at the ice cream parlor just making mean looks at Deirdre, and Deirdre makes mean looks at her back. It's just great. I think it's fantastic. Also, Brenda Carlton. So she was an incompetent reporter slash villain rival from the 1980s Nancy Drew Case Files series. So she was a villain in a different Nancy Drew series. And she's not very memorable, but she's a lot better in this game. It's the same thing. One thing this game does well is it takes these terrible characters from the book series, actually makes them into real developed characters. That's great. Same with Chief McGinnis. I'm not saying he's a bad character in the books. I'm just saying his personality completely changes depending on how that particular author is feeling that day. And so it's a lot better in this game where he has a consistent personality all the way through. And he's kind of funny too. Like he makes a bunch of puns about Pancake City. I really love the Pancake City jokes. And I kind of wish the game had more references to other games in the Nancy Drew series. The final character is Tony, who is running for mayor or something like city council. And she's mad because Nancy Drew constantly makes the city government look inept when Nancy solves mysteries, which is true. We have Nancy's dad. You have several phone calls with him. He's an okay character in this game. I like him. And the puzzles are fine. I wish there was a better way to hand off evidence between the various characters, because that is inefficient. Also inefficient is that you can't go from Bess to George, or Bess to Ned, or Ned to George. You have to, in order to switch characters, you have to go back to Nancy and then switch characters. So there's a lot of unnecessary phone calls to Nancy just to switch characters. And part of the problem is you'll be switching characters a lot because they have inefficient inventory sharing. It's like if Ned's the one character who's holding the glass vial, Ned's the only one who can solve that glass vial puzzle. Other than that, pretty well balanced game. Finding the evidence, pretty good structure in how things are figured out. I know one time I played this game, I got totally stuck. I tend to get totally stuck at the end because you need to look at a specific newspaper in Nancy's house. If you don't do that, you get stuck. And you need to look at the specific thing in the wall of Brenda's truck. If you don't do that, you get stuck. You basically find alibis for the other characters. I like Checking on Deirdre's alibi. It's really weird that Ned takes Deirdre out on dates in this game. That's what they do to distract her. It's cool that you get to fingerprint everyone. That was really cool. And I did like the final third of the game, half to third of the game. Once Nancy gets let out, it feels like, oh, we're kind of playing a bonus game because you figure out who the culprit is, and then the story it keeps going, and it becomes you need to stop the culprit. It goes on for like an extra 15 minutes or so. I really liked that edge of the game. So oh my gosh, I'm over my 5-minute limit. All in all, definitely one of my favorite games in the series. I'd say like this is the high point of the series because I don't think the series was as good after this one, but more on that in my next video review. For now, I'll give this like a 9 out of 10. It's great.